All right. Welcome, one and all, to the Cosmic Comic Nation, powered by Comic Con Radio. I'm your host, Tom Torme, and my next guest is a third generation comic book artist, writer, and graduate of the Kubert School, of which her grandfather is the founding namesake. She has freelanced for various companies such as DC Entertainment, Dynamite Entertainment, 20th Century Fox, and Image Comics. She's also the co creator, penciler, and colorist for Image Comics Inkblot and Stoneheart. It's my pleasure to welcome comic book royalty Emma Kubert to the Cosmic Comic Nation. Thank you very much for being here, Emma.
Thank you for having me. I'm
Oh,
excited.
oh, great! That's awesome. I'm so happy for you because I know you have a new book out, and
Yeah.
you're such an amazing talent. And I'm really happy that you took the time to be here. So I appreciate that very much.
Well, I appreciate all the kind words. So thank
Oh,
you so much.
oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. So from one teacher to another, really, right? Your family tree really must have been rooted in an inkwell, because the Kubert family has produced some of the greatest artists in the last century. At what point did you commit to joining the family business, so to speak?
Well, I would honestly say that I've always looked up to my family my entire life. Like I grew up around, like I basically grew up at the school. My
Hmm.
dad was teaching at the school, and my mom created the Kubert art store there. So I basically spent my entire childhood around art, but I didn't necessarily like comics in general when I was younger. I was really into any kind of creative outlet that there was.
Sure.
I did love drawing, but I loved theater, I loved music, I loved really a lot of those things. But one of the things that I really took to was animation and animated television and movies. So that's really where a lot of my inspiration comes from. But being a part of my family, I mean, I am super proud to be a part of it. I mean, it's the coolest thing to tell someone that my dad draws Batman.
Right. Right. Oh yeah. That's
so
that's.
so I thought it was really a great place to come from, but
Mhm.
I didn't necessarily think that I would go into comics. When I finally decided to kind of make the shift into comics, it was when I was actually going to school for animation. And when I was going to college for animation, I kind of realized there that I didn't really like animation so much.
There's a big difference between watching and creating, I guess, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So sitting there, in a dark room, drawing the same thing over and
Hmm.
over again, but moving it a little bit, it didn't really appeal to me. So I kind of shifted my focus at that time to storyboarding and to pre-production work,
Okay.
doing like character designs, background designs, concept art, that kind of stuff. But I kind of realized that I needed to kind of rework my education so that I could be good enough quick enough and in order to just make a living at it.
Hmm.
And so I left college and I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I think I got to go to the Kubert School. I think it's time. And he was just like, wow, Emma, this is deja vu because I did the same thing when I
Right.
was your age. So when I went to the Kubert School, it's a 3-year trade school. It's a very tough program. I would say that if you really want to be a professional, that is a professional comic book artist, that is definitely the place to go to. You are taking, 10 classes a week. You're drawing like 10 to 12 hours a day.
Right.
And so, like, you're really pushing yourself and your limits there. So, when I went there, that was kind of the moment where I was just like, okay, I don't wanna do comics. I wanna do storyboarding, but I have to, like, push myself in this direction. I have to, like, be 100% about this. So my first year at the Kubert School, I was like, "Okay, like, I'm gonna still go into storyboarding. I'm still gonna go into concept art." But then I got into my 2nd year, and my 2nd year was actually when I had my dad as a teacher, and that's when I was just like, "You know what?
Hmm.
I like comics." Like, I'm realizing that it's kind of the perfect medium for
Oh
me
yeah.
as I was really pushing myself through it. And So I was just like, you know what? Like, I'll try comics. I'll go for it, but I only want to work with like another writer. I only want to do stuff for like the big companies. Like I just want to work on existing characters, etc. But then we went into our third year at the Kubert School where we had to do assignments that kind of related to creating our own stories and creating our own concepts and everything. And so with that assignment, I did a lot of whining, I'm not gonna lie. But when I had the chance to really think about the stories that I wanted to tell and the things that I actually really wanted to draw, I realized that I wanted to create my own stories, and that's been something that I've been wanting to do for my entire life, but it's such a vulnerable thing to put yourself out there like
Sure.
that. So, I think I was just scared, and that was really the whole start of, me going into this direction of comics. I basically resisted for my whole life, and then I gave in.
Well, and I'm glad you did. But that really has to come with attending the school, bearing the name of the school itself.
Exactly.
That's got to come with some. Did that come with some stress, some expectations with your dad as your teacher, or your name on the building, so to speak? Well, actually, no. I mean, in a very literal sense. Uh,
I'm gonna be honest, like, I don't think I've ever gotten so much stress from anywhere on the outside. I think everyone that
mhm,
was seeing me work hard in this direction, all they wanted to do was support me and cheer me on.
that's
I
great.
think for me, I am automatically the hardest on myself, and I put the most pressure on myself all the time. So that's really where I think most of the pressure came from, and it still does to this day, and I'm
Right.
sure it does to my dad and my uncle as well for their entire life because we do bear this name, and it's not just, living up to a legacy of comic book artists, but my grandpa was a great person and a great educator. Like he was confident yet humble, and
Hmm.
all he wanted to do was spread the knowledge and enjoyment of comics. And I think, my uncle and my dad just saw that and wanted to take embrace that. And I knew that when I was going into that direction, that was what I wanted to do too, is that that's all we really want to do is enjoy comics and help others enjoy them too.
Oh no, that's a very noble thing, and it's great that you had so many positive people in your life to kind of guide you in the right
Yeah.
direction. So you graduate from the Kubert School, you go out into the industry, and
Mhm.
now you're back in the Kubert School as a teacher.
Yes, yes,
As a
ma'am.
teacher, you're an instructor in the Kubert School. Yeah, are there? I mean, I'm sure you learned quite a bit while you were in the institution. When you went out into the field, and now you're back, is there any kind of particular skills that you brought back with you that you're imparting on your students?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, for the full-time program, I teach basic drawing
Okay.
to all of the first year students. And for the online courses, I teach narrative art. And everything that I've gone through within, like my short time outside of the institution, which was, I think, I was only like in my career like 3 years or 4 years into my career until I went back to the Kubert School to teach. That I literally will relay every single story to them that comes up, like, that's relevant in conversation. Because I think the most important thing to realize now is that the comics industry is changing.
Mhm.
It's diversifying, it's getting larger because of the films and television shows that are being made, and more people want to be a part of it that weren't a part of it, like 20 years ago. And that goes the same for me. So I wanted to really relay it to my students that you can really forge your own path in whatever you want to do, but you have to do it relentlessly. And you
Right.
have to understand that you will fail. It's inevitable at some times. But it's so important to have that relentless attitude to keep going, because if this is what you want to do for a living, then that's what you have to do. You have to just keep going no matter what.
And you attribute the change in industry to the success of comics mainstream, maybe outside of,
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
how have you seen that kind of, has that change affected maybe the way teaching is going on at the Kubert School?
Well, I wouldn't just say teaching, but just like for my own mindset in
Mhm.
general. Like the reason why I didn't take to comics so much when I was younger was because there were so many characters, like especially superhero characters, that I personally didn't relate to. I mean, even seeing a lot of the female characters, I was, a chubby preteen girl, and looking at Wonder Woman, how could I relate to her?
Right.
So that was kind of the deterrent for me, as a person, is that I just didn't see a whole lot of myself and a whole lot of relatability in the
Mhm.
comics industry at that time. Now, I would say that when Harley Quinn started to get popular, I was I was actually interning for DC Comics,
Okay.
and at DC Comics, I was a manufacturing intern. So I was like in just the company part. And I was basically doing corrections before the comics went out to print. And so my boss, he was like, Emma, I think you'll like this. And he threw down a giant omnibus of Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti's Harley
Okay.
Quinn. And so when
Right.
I got to read this character, I loved it. I thought it was so fun. Like Amanda's art is so
Yeah.
expressive and
The
actiony.
way she drew Harley Quinn was very much the antithesis of what you had been seeing before with a lot of the female superheroes with the size zero waist and yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And so like when I saw her, and not just that, but also just kind of the overall personality and
Mhm.
everything that kind of encompassed her, I just was like, maybe there is a way for me. Maybe there is a path in this industry that I can go into. And so that's what made me actually go to the Kubert School, was seeing that kind of path and that relatable character. So what I'm hoping is that I can contribute to that, so that all of the students that go to the Kubert School can see that they can be a part of it too. It doesn't just have to be superheroes anymore, even though superheroes are great and I
Right. Right.
do love them, but
But
they
that's
can
one aspect of a very
yes,
large medium.
yes, and they can find their own path in it. I mean, like I've done not only Western comics, but I've done a web comic, and
Mhm.
I've been diving into like graphic novels, and there's just so many other avenues that you can go into that aren't just that one path anymore. And
Right.
I think that's really important to instill in them too.
I mean, even your work on books like Radiant Pink,
Yeah,
yeah, it's superhero in nature, but it's done at a completely different level.
exactly.
Yeah, it's not, certainly not the kind of superhero book that you saw 20, even 30 years ago.
Yeah.
It's yeah, right. Yeah, and so you do draw. Your style is varied. You're drawing everything from superheroes like in Radiant Pink to steampunk. Is there a particular genre, or is there a particular kind of style that you prefer? Uh, like if
Well,
you had a choice of a subject matter, is there one that you prefer?
Well, what I would say is that, I love superheroes, I love sci-fi, I love all of these different genres, but I grew up as a fantasy
Mm,
girl. Like
okay.
I grew up as a lover of fantasy stories. So I think that whenever I have a chance, I kind of gravitate automatically to fantasy stories. But that being said, again, like I really take to any kind of story as long as the story's
Right. Right.
good.
Yeah. No. That would definitely explain your most recent works on books like Inkblot and Stoneheart, which are definitely in the realm of fantasy.
Yeah.
Uh, how I'm just going to ask a quick, the adverse of something I had asked earlier. Are there things that when you entered the field after you graduated, things that you kind of, as you said, you're going to fail, you're going to stumble? Are there certain ways in which you felt like you stumbled that you're now? I mean, we all make mistakes. It's human, right? It's all part of who we are. But when we go back as teachers, we try and impart on our students how not to make the same mistakes we did. Is there any kind of advice that you would give along that line? Something that you would not do?
Yeah.
Again.
Well, I mean, I don't have anything that I wouldn't do in the past, and it's mostly just because it has gotten me to where I am now.
That's a very positive way of looking at it.
Which is cool. Yeah.
Yeah, a little causality. Right.
But what I would say is so when I graduated, and you're just kind of dropped off into the middle of nowhere basically after you graduate. I bet every college graduate feels that way.
Oh yeah.
In the entire world. But for my first couple of jobs, they fell through. And it was kind of one of those moments where it wasn't my fault. It wasn't anything that had to do with anything I was really a part of, but it was a job that I was relying on that kind of got sucked out from under me.
Yeah.
And that happened twice. And I felt like a failure. And after that, I was trying so hard to send my portfolio out to anyone that I can find. I was trying to find any work that I could do. I was doing Kickstarters. I was, contacting these different writers on LinkedIn and everything. I was literally working my butt off every day to just get someone to notice me. And so that's honestly how I started to be able to do DC Superhero Girls and Titans Go.
Yeah, right.
Is that I had to switch gears a little and do something else that wasn't, exactly what I wanted to do. But I'm still so grateful that I got to work on those characters because it's absolutely so fun. But
you worked on a Raven book as well, correct?
Yes,
Yeah.
I did. I did layouts for the Teen Titans Raven. And so that was really great. I mean, but that being said, it wasn't something that had longevity. It was a job that I got for, a couple weeks and I got paid and that was great. But then I had to find the next job and I had to find the next job. And that's really what it's like being a freelancer is that you're constantly on the hunt for the next job. So that kind of led its way to me basically taking my portfolio and sending it out to literally anyone who would see it. And it was a year and a half after I graduated that I finally had a portfolio that I felt looked good enough. And I feel like a lot of people, a lot of creators in general who have gotten to that point where they're just like, okay, this portfolio, I think will get some sort of reaction from someone. Like I have a feeling I've been working really hard. I've been trying my best. And so I sent out that portfolio to, dozens of people and I get one email back. And that one email back was from Eric Stevenson from Image Comics.
Very cool.
So it only takes one person to get you your job. So it's like you might as well just keep trying and keep getting your art in front of as many eyes as you can so that not only can they see your work, but they can also constantly see that you're growing and that you're getting better and that this is what you want to do. And you'll do anything to do it. And I felt like that at that time, I was really showing that, and that really paid off for me.
Right. And you were with Image, and I said you did work for Radiant Pink.
Yep.
But then shortly after, if I'm getting my timeline correct, Inkblot comes along.
Inkblot was first.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. See, I know I messed up somewhere along the lines. So, I mean, Inkblot is a great series.
Yeah.
And you got to work on it with Rusty Glad, your partner.
Yep.
And So is that where from the portfolio being reviewed, accepted, and contacted by Image, was the next step in setting up Inkblot?
Basically,
Wow,
yes. So
I mean,
when
that's remarkable.
yeah, so basically when I was able to send my portfolio out, I was really on the job hunt. Like I was
Hmm.
looking for jobs, anything that I could get my hands on, I wanted to do. And so when I sent that, I got the email back and the email said, "Hey Emma, this stuff looks great. Do you want us to pair you with a writer or do you want to come up with your own thing?" And I said yes to both. I was
Right.
like, I will do anything, please.
I
And
mean, that's remarkable. I mean, that portfolio must have knocked their socks off.
exactly. And it
Yeah.
took a year and a half to get it there. And
Hmm.
I still, I mean, as an artist, you're always going to still feel a little inadequate, but that's just because you're constantly growing. But at that point, he asked me that question. I was like, yes, both, anything. And so at that time, he was just like, okay, I'm going to be back from a convention in like a week. We'll talk then. And so Rusty is my partner, but also, my boyfriend. He's
Hmm.
my everything. And at that time, he also graduated from the Keyword School with me. And that was the point when I was just like, Rusty, we have a week to come up with a pitch now. And so we were thinking about all of the things that we created in school, and we were kind of going over all the different, things that we could go over. And so we took one of my projects from school, which I named at that time Willowbrook, and Rusty brought his really high fantasy inspirations um, into it, and that is what created Inkblot. So we created the pitch for Inkblot, and it got accepted, and we were able to create it.
I mean, that's remarkable. And so, where in the world did the cat that could do just about anything come from? Is that a combination, like an amalgamation of your ideas?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I would say that is definitely a combination. It was definitely based off of my childhood pet. I had a black cat when I was younger.
Right.
Um, and it was also based off of basically all of the things that I loved when I was younger. I loved Sabrina the Teenage Witch. I loved Kiki's Delivery Service. I loved when I was younger. I loved Harry Potter. I loved Lord of the Rings. I loved all of those, fantasy things that
Sure.
people like me, early 2000s, grew up in. So that was something that I kind of drew inspiration from. So we kind of did our own take on a little witch and her black cat.
Right.
But we also wanted to make this black cat, uh, when, and that also came from the concept of thinking about, what are cats really? Like,
Right.
how do they actually act and what is going on in their heads and all that stuff, and
And,
they
so,
are absolute chaos.
and this is where you have a cat that just doesn't care.
Exactly.
Right. 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 That
like
it's.
like maybe it can like you, maybe it doesn't.
Right. Right.
Who
It
knows?
depends on what minute. Just by minute, they change their minds about us.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
And that I noticed that at one point there was a solicitation for a February release. I think of in issue 16, but then that just kind of went away. And right now
Yeah.
we're up to issue 15 of Inkblot.
Yeah.
Is there any potential for issue 16 and beyond?
Right now, Rusty and I are just on a hiatus, and it's simply just because I have a lot of, these other projects.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good problem to have, right? That's
yeah,
nice.
exactly.
Right.
I have these other projects. Rusty got a full-time job working for DC Comics, so we kind of wanted to put that on the back burner. But Inkblot is one of those stories that we feel that has such longevity.
Hmm.
Like we have so much story to tell with Inkblot that I think it's good that we're taking a break so that when we come back to it, we can really put all of our focus into it and, culminate the entirety of this epic story.
Right. And you're absolutely right. And that's kind of where I was going to go with that too, because it does feel epic. And now in talking to you and realizing that animation was something that you were interested in and your awareness of the changing industry, is there a way that you would like to see Inkblot outside of the comic book medium? Do you see it as a live action maybe or a cartoon? Is that something that's been floating around in your head or something
Um,
that's even been considered?
Honestly, I don't really create for that. I
Oh,
really
okay.
I really create for comics and comics only. If like it's more just kind of like a cherry on top if someone's like, "Hey, I want to make a movie or a TV show out of this."
Right.
But for me, comics are the end all be all. It's like it's my art on display, it's my story, and I really just want more people to read comics. So if it were to go to movie or television, I just want more people to, love it and then want to read the comics.
Yeah, go check out the source material. Right. No, that makes perfect sense. And I do always hope that when I do see adaptations, that it's kind of like as a history teacher, some people watch a movie, and I'm like, well, I hope that inspires you to go read more about it.
It
When I
usually does. It's
right, right.
pretty cool.
So I hope when comic book adaptations come out on the silver screen or in TV shows that people say, hey, I want to go check out the stories that inspired this.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you're still celebrating the industry. It's good to see that. You're now working on another series for Image,
Mhm.
which at the time we're recording this, the series had just come out maybe, maybe about a week ago. I think at this point, if my days are getting,
No,
maybe even less.
it came out 2 days ago.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I'm getting my days all mixed up. Called Stoneheart,
Yep.
and it is a fantasy tale. And is there anything you can tell us about this new series?
So Stoneheart, I'll just, give a little background on what it is.
Yeah.
Stoneheart is about a young woman who's exiled from her magical guild, wiped of her memories, and basically relocated to a new life in a new city where she's just trying to be a blacksmith. But as she's, going about trying to get back into her new life, a voice starts to creep into her head, a sinister voice. And you find that with each issue of Stoneheart, you're going to see the past and the present of this main protagonist, Shade Whisper. And as she goes down the rabbit hole of her own undoing.
Wow. And how many issues are you in so far? I know one is on the
Even
shelf now.
one.
Right.
What
Oh,
do you
so
mean?
pen plotted, inked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have the entire first arc like completed.
Oh, nice, nice.
So there's that, but I have this story planned. If I have the audience and if I get the longevity for it,
Hmm.
I have it planned for 30 issues altogether. So if
Okay.
I'm able to get there, I really hope that I get the support each month for people to go to their comic book shop, pick up Stoneheart, and enjoy the ride, because with every issue that I have coming out, the epicness, the adventure, it heightens each and every time.
Hmm. Well, I'm making a trip to my local comic book shop tomorrow morning, so I'll be sure to pick up an issue because I would love to see this as many people would. Because I read a review earlier, and it was a rave review, so that's fantastic, and it's definitely a good sign coming out of the gate.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, certainly it seems as Image Comics has been supportive of your endeavors. Now let's just
Oh
make sure
yeah.
that the audience is there. We keep that series going. My son, my 12-year-old, has just gotten into fantasy as well. He's a
Awesome.
big Lord of the Rings fan, so I'll definitely be sure to pick up a copy so he can enjoy it right along with me. Uh,
Wonderful.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, these are the kind of stories, as you mentioned. Not everything has to be tights and capes.
Yeah.
The medium is open to so many different genres, and I think that's something that a lot of people need to be aware of. That
Yeah.
comic books aren't just bam, pow, boom. There's so much more to it.
I totally agree. And
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, all I wanted to do with Stoneheart was just create a simple linear story that represents me. Like,
Right.
I don't have anyone doing variant covers. I don't have anyone else working on the book. It's literally just me going in the direction that I want to go in. And I hope that people come with me on that
Oh,
journey.
that's yeah, and it is amazing, right? That you are taking on both the writing, the art, the cover, which a piece of the cover is. If you're watching this on YouTube, you see a piece of the cover behind us.
Mhm.
I mean, really, the cover is fantastic.
Thank you.
Are you coloring, or is someone? Wow, well, coloring as well. Okay.
I color it too.
Oh
And
my.
it's mostly just because, like, this story is a little bit more personal to me than a lot of other stories that I've created. So I really wanted to be in charge of each and every part of it as it comes out. Like, it's all me. You're getting me
Right, right.
basically with this story. So I'm very proud of it, and I'm really excited for everyone to read it.
Oh no, and I'm sure everybody else is, including myself, proud of you as well. I mean,
Thanks.
you've come very far, and it's great to see too. Even over the course of your career so far, you can almost see and not to diminish any, but every artist, over time you improve, you get it better. And I mean, these covers, and unfortunately, I've only seen this in covers so far. I haven't had a chance to go pick up the issue yet.
That's
But the covers themselves are so uh, bold. The color choices are so
yeah.
really amazing. It's definitely, and I know you're not supposed to judge a book by a cover, but it's a pretty damn cool cover, so it's hard not to. Uh,
Thank you.
oh no, my pleasure, my pleasure. Uh, and so I know you're teaching at the school,
Yep.
both in person and remote. But do you get a chance to make any appearances, whether at bookstores or comic book shops or cons?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I will actually be at MegaCon at the end of this month.
Very cool.
So if anyone is going to that convention, come say hi to me. But right now, I don't have anything else totally scheduled. So, you can basically find out. I always announce this kind of stuff on my Twitter account, my Instagram account, and my TikTok account. It's all at Emma Kubert. So if you guys want to follow along, you can find out that way too.
And for commissions too, correct? At your website, I saw.
Currently, I'm not taking
Oh,
commissions,
I
but
will.
at conventions, I do.
Oh,
So,
very cool.
so at conventions, I'm usually there. If I'm at a comic book shop, I'm usually signing, and
Right.
that's usually how it goes.
Oh, very cool. I definitely, yeah, but I won't be making this. But I'm from the New York area as well, so I usually hit the tri-state ones, Garden State Comic Con, all these great ones. So hopefully we'll be able to see you there, if not at a local comic book shop. But I definitely follow you on your social media. It's always great to see your work and to see what you're up to. And like you said, it's the best way to follow you, to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, as we are kind of winding down, if you wouldn't mind playing a super quick game with me.
Okay.
And it's a multiple choice game.
Oh
Uh,
man.
and I'm going to give you a character. And this particular character has come from the mind of either Joe, Adam, or Andy Kubert.
How
And
much do I know their work?
how much do you know their work? Right, right.
They're 20, 30, 50 plus years of drawing.
You should know everything. No, I'm joking, joking. So I'm gonna give you I'll give you three characters,
Okay.
and I'll ask you who made the character.
All right. Okay.
All right, all right,
I'm trying
and
my best. I make no promises.
that's all right.
Correct.
Let's start with a DC character, Damian Wayne.
Oh, that was made by my dad, Andy Kubert.
There you go. All right, see, all that pressure,
Oh
you
my
felt.
God, you put on so much pressure.
Right.
No, I
Now,
get it.
now correct me if I'm wrong. That works on Batman, but you got to work on a Batman issue yourself, right? For the audio adventures.
I did. I got to draw Catwoman, which was
Yeah.
really awesome.
So did you guys get to do you swap Bat family stories?
Well, I actually, I live on the East Coast. He lives on the West Coast now, so I don't get to kind of talk to him as often. But when I do, and I get a chance to show him my work, I'm always trying to get advice from him.
No,
Constant.
smart move. Smart move. I mean, and I mean that's got to be amazing. You have, like you said, with literally decades of experience.
Yeah.
I and teachers and a teacher himself at the school, that's got to be a fountain of
Oh, definitely.
advice and information to go to. So that's great.
100.
All right, how do you feel? Let's try number 2. Are you ready?
Yeah.
You nailed number 1. You nailed it.
I did.
Yeah.
I nailed number 1. I know that
All
one.
right. Ultimate Wolverine.
That was by my uncle, I'm guessing.
Hey, Adam, that's right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. You got it.
I'm right.
You're right. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. You nailed it.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
See, nothing to worry about.
Thank you.
You haven't you haven't worked for Marvel as of yet.
I have actually.
Oh, you have. Oh, I'm sorry.
I've done a couple of anthology stories for them.
Oh, okay.
So I've done the Woman of Marvel. I remember doing one other anthology, and I did also Star Wars Revelation.
Oh, right. So you know what? Star Wars.
Okay.
I got to tell you, after decades, Star Wars is still in my mind dark horse. So I keep forgetting that it's over at the Marvel imprint now.
I mean, I forget all the things that I've done so far too. So
that's fantastic. I remember the Star Wars, but I in my head it was dark horse. I don't know why. I'll throw. I mean, this one. I was gonna put Gentleman Ghost because Gentleman Ghost is one of my favorites. But how about?
No. Go.
Oh, well, I'll say Gentleman Ghost. I can put the two together. Gentleman Ghost and Viking Prince.
That was my grandpa?
That's right. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. all that pressure. You nailed it.
I was thinking about Gentleman Ghosts, and I remember also my dad drawing him too.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was like,
Oh, well, you have to finish that. You have to. I mean, maybe if you get a chance to work on the Titans again. I know that character. I think it's appeared in like Teen Titans Go and other places. So maybe if you get a chance again, so you can complete the legacy. Father, grandfather, and now granddaughter drawing the same character. That's pretty cool. Actually, has there been anything along that line so far that you're aware of? And not to put any pressure on you, but have there been characters that the 3 generations have had a chance to work on?
I don't think so, to be honest. And I think it's just because we all have, like, what really is kind of more passed down is the ability to tell a story.
Right.
And that's not just like, like the ability to tell a story like through blood, but it's more like through skill and teaching and everything like that. But I'm pretty sure that every time, like when my dad and my uncle were breaking into the industry, they could never do what my grandpa does. And that's exactly how I felt breaking into the industry. Like, I could never draw Batman as awesome as my dad. And I mean, I would do my own iteration, but it's not going to be the same. So it's kind of like my dad's not going to do a Hawkman, like, and things like that. And it's just because we feel that it's already been done the best way. And it's because these are the people that we look up to.
Right.
My dad looks up to my grandpa, and I look up to my dad, and etc. Like, so I feel like you just can't even touch those characters in a way.
Right. You're inspired by them, but you're not trying to emulate. You're not trying to.
That's exactly what it is.
Right. And in truth, you're doing a great job. You're finding your own way.
Thank you.
And you're making your own mark on the comic book industry, and you're reaching really a new generation, a different audience.
I hope so.
Oh, no, and it's definitely resonating. I mean, because there are people, as you mentioned, that for whom the superhero genre is not it. But comic books are a great medium, and not to diminish one over the other, but
Yeah.
it's impossible that one genre is going to speak to everybody. There has to be that opening, that doorway into the medium, and fantasy books provide that for a number of people, a
Yes.
great number of people, and you're doing a great service for the industry by doing that.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. That's
Oh,
very kind.
it's really my pleasure, and I really want to thank you very much for being on the show today. It's been an honor to talk to you, and I look forward to speaking to you again in the future. And
Definitely.
I wish you all the best. Stoneheart seems amazing, and I can't wait to pick up my copy tomorrow. And I can't wait to see it go through issue 30 so we can see the completion of your vision.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Thank you very much, guys. Everybody, that was Adam Kubert. I'm Tom Torme. This was the Cosmic Comic Nation. And until next time, be well and stay safe.